Nate is an associate pastor at Dayspring and has been actively involved in sports for most of his life. He achieved a black belt in Taekwondo when he was 18 and worked out daily. However, he was never able to obtain his fitness goals of weight loss and strength. At 30, he was at his heaviest and suffered from high blood pressure. After researching diet and exercise and learning to steward and honor God with his body, he has transformed his lifestyle. He loves playing soccer, running local races, and training with his children on obstacle courses. He is stronger, trimmer, and feels better at 35 than he did at 22. And I want to just ask, since this is what happens, Dr. John, is he still in here? Isn't it right, you never schedule your doctor's appointment at like 4 in the afternoon, because by that point they're so behind that you're gonna wait a long time. You gotta schedule your doctor's appointment at like 8:15. My dad was a doctor, I know how that works. So Nate got scheduled late in the afternoon, and we've just kind of like a few minutes here and there through the afternoon, like just slightly gone over. So I have told him to take his full hour. We do have a dinner break of an hour and a half, so I'm really excited to see what he has to say. So if we end a little bit after 5, Nate, that's okay with us. And would you guys help me welcome Nate Harris?
Thanks, Aaliyah. She's my fellow black belt in Taekwondo. Woo! We didn't know each other back in the day, but it would have been on, Aaliyah. It would have been on. So that's great. Yeah, I got involved in that stuff at a young age, and I was able to became an instructor, and for a few years taught Taekwondo actually at a fitness center. And so I had all this opportunity to work out, just work out. And I took it, and I was just engaged in my physical body. Like that was my whole focus. But I was so emotionally and spiritually shallow, you know what I mean? You know that guy at the gym, you're like, oh yeah, that guy, right? I was that guy. It was terrible. But I never felt like I was enough, no matter how much I did. You know what I'm talking about? And so today I want to talk a little bit about the reality, the spiritual realities of health, and then how that impacts us in a physical way, and then some practical tips to change our lifestyle habits so that we can live a healthier lifestyle. So the definition of health, by the way, I just caught a few snippets here and there, and Christy shared a few things with me today, but sounds like you guys have had a really good time, and just so appreciate all the other speakers that have been investing today. And we're all on a journey together, and we don't all have the answers figured out, right? But we're all in this process of learning together. So let's just do a little bit more learning today. Merriam's dictionary defines health as the condition of being sound in body, mind, or spirit. A condition in which someone is thriving or doing well. And that goes way beyond our physical health, doesn't it? That it goes down to the very depths of us. Often we think about someone who's athletic and then we equate that to healthy. And I know a lot of athletic people that aren't healthy, right? And I know a lot of people that aren't athletic, they're a lot healthier than people that are athletic, right? But ultimately, health is body, mind, and soul, right? Spirit. It's a whole package. It's interesting because the word shalom, the word for peace in Hebrew, actually means wholeness. Like at its root definition, it means wholeness. And one of the definitions, one of the synonyms for health is, the first one actually is wholeness. Isn't that interesting? When you go to the store and you look at, you see like the produce and you see the apples and they look so nice. I kind of think of physical fitness like that. Like it's something that's on display. Like people can see it, right? And they can go, oh, that's really nice. Like, oh, you've done a good job, making that happen. But to get an apple to the store that looks nice, there's a whole lot that happens for years, right, before that took place that were intentional to get that apple to the market. Does that make sense? And, a farmer had to plant a tree, plant an orchard, had to cultivate, had to fertilize, had to prune. Pruning is usually where we fall off the bandwagon. when it comes to health, right? And that pruning and then that cultivation and that investment, that financial investment, that time investment, and all of that stuff ultimately leads up to something that you see in the store and you're like, wow, that's really nice. But that physical piece of who you are, right? Your body is a representation of choices that have been made for years, literally years before. At least months, but definitely months, but years. I know in my own personal journey, at 30, I decided I was gonna, get healthy again. And for the last, it'll be almost 6 years, coming up in a couple months, 6 years, it's been a journey, and it's been, the bit of the roller coaster, right? Where I'm gonna try this new thing, and oh, that didn't work, and I'm gonna try this, oh, that didn't work. So today, when I'm talking about the practical tips, I wanna provide some of the things that worked for me. There's a lot of things I did that didn't work, so I won't talk about those, but you can ask me. But anyways, it's a journey. We're all on a journey. Ultimately, health comes back to the reality of understanding our own value. Because if we don't value ourselves, if we don't recognize that we're valuable, then we won't invest the time, the energy, the resources into taking care of ourselves. Does that make sense? When I was in high school, I had such a poor self-image that I felt like everyone was rejecting me, even though it wasn't true. Like I had, my parents loved me, and my siblings loved me. I had a couple of good friends, but I felt rejected, and so I responded out of rejection to every interaction I had with people. And I remember for years after I went to college and graduated, moved here to Springfield, I had trouble relating to men in my life because I had such a deep father wound. And when I related to men, I was expecting to fail, and so I would emotionally shut down, right? And it wasn't until I had a revelation of the love of the Father, right, which didn't happen in a day, you know what I'm saying? Like I had a revelation of the love of the Father over the course of a few years. And in that revelation, one of the first things that happened was the Lord told me that you believe in me, but you don't believe in you. I had a dream, audible voice of God. You believe in me, but you don't believe in you. And that was confusing theologically. Because my whole life I'd never believed in me, and I didn't think that I was supposed to. And I finally recognized through the voice of the Lord that something had to change. And I started dialoguing with the Lord about it, and I said, well, I woke up from that dream and I wrote down what he said, and I was like, I don't even know how to pray about this, honestly. And I said, Lord, teach me to believe in me, I guess. Amen. But for the next 2 years, I went on this journey of discovery, and I found my value. I discovered myself in him, right? I had never discovered myself. I didn't even know what I liked that much. Right? I had never even spent the time to take care of me. And when I started taking care of me in him, right? And at that point, it's not this self-focused thing. It's, wow, look what you can do through my life. There's Todd White calls it a Godfidence. It's like the confidence in God, right? Godfidence. There's this Godfidence that comes upon you, and all of a sudden, the limitations and the mindset that we've lived with our whole lives, because we've thought a certain way about ourselves, those limitations fall off, and then all of a sudden, I found myself going, wow, I could do literally anything I want in life. Like, I could pursue my dreams. Well, I had never had that perspective. I always had limited myself to what I felt I could do based on my history. And whenever I let the Lord heal me in that area, my history no longer mattered. It was his history that mattered. What did he do for me? What does he say about me? And so I started believing that truth. Health is really it's a faith step. It's saying, I believe that you've saved me, I'm going to confess it, and I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to put some action to this faith. And so I started on this journey. It's been about, I want to say 7, 8 years ago. And then, when I hit 30 about 6 years ago, and it started affecting my health, which has been amazing. And I found that the limitations I had before, I was probably oh gosh, I was 25 pounds heavier than I'm right now. But I didn't realize that I was unhealthy until I had to go to the doctor for a checkup. And the doctor's like, wow, your high blood pressure is terrible. I was like, oh, and both my parents have high blood pressure and they're on medication and they have been since they were like in their 40s, right? So I knew exactly where that was going. I had no energy. I couldn't hardly, I remember every time I play with my babies on the floor, I had trouble just getting the energy to get up off the floor. And I thought, God, something's got to change. But it didn't change until I found that I was valuable to him. And then, okay, this has to do something in my life. I'm totally not looking at my notes here. I apologize. Yeah. So the Lord wants to break off self-hatred, because that was the struggle I had. And I believe today that as I'm sharing this, some of you are identifying with that same struggle in your life, right? And I'm not saying that I have like come to the place where I've been completely free from, the issue, right? But we're all in process. But you might identify that I'm somewhere in this process, and that process is, I think it was Angie was saying this earlier, you've got to love your neighbor as yourself. There's actually a love for yourself that's required so that you can love others, right? If we understand we're loved by God, we can then love him, right? 1 John 3 says that we love because he first loved us. Right? Whenever we love our children, we can see that they respond to that love. When you see a child that hasn't been loved, they don't respond the same way to love, do they? There's an emotional, I see so many kids going through the foster care program, and I just want to like snuggle them, But they have trouble receiving love, and it takes years to overcome that because they have to receive love before they can give it back. And we have to receive love. We have to receive affection before we can give it back from the Father. Fundamentally, if I base my value on my accomplishments, then when I have a bad day, I fall off the bandwagon. And I found that to be so true in fitness. If I'm basing my value on my achievement, I don't know about you, but there are many days in the week when I wake up and I just feel like I'm fat or like I'm unattractive. Does anybody? I'm being honest. I wake up and I'm like, I just feel like crud, And in that moment, I go, wait a minute. That's not my Father's voice. And that's not even my voice. That's a lie from hell, and I don't have to listen to that. And I get up and I keep pressing on, and I've had so many moments where I've just felt like, man, I haven't made any progress. And then I look at like a picture from, a year before, and I'm like, oh, well, yeah, that's pretty bad. Okay, I made some progress, right? Or I'll get on the scale, I'll be like, wow, that's actually a lot better than I was expecting. And the enemy so tries to lie to us by getting us to believe that our achievements or our failures are where our value comes from. And if we live from that place, we'll live on a roller coaster where we're not sustaining health, where we're not sustaining the lifestyle of healthiness, where I'm running to a milkshake and a cheeseburger, right? Which I do that sometimes. It's okay, every once in a while. But I'll start running to that and, candy and all this stuff because I don't feel good about myself. Like I am an emotional eater, like right here. Like, a few years ago, I recognized it like, oh, I'm like stressed about something. I'm over there like ordering pizza, And once I recognized that, I went, okay, this is actually a pretty big deal. I got to see a shift in this area. And I knew it was a lack of self-control, but I knew it was tied to stress. And then as I sought the Lord on it, I started recognizing, oh, it's because I'm basing my value in my failure at this moment. I feel like a failure because my finances aren't where they should be, and I'm supposed to be the provider and this and that and the other, right? No, he's my provider. He takes care of my finances. He takes care of my children. He takes care of my wife. And so I don't have to rush over and I'm not compelled to do something that's going to damage what I know that I want to do, right? I can make like a good investment or a poor investment. And I like having strategic, entertainment investments in my eating. Like, I'm totally good with that, right? Like, I'm going to buy some chocolate, and I'm going to have a blast. Like, I'm going to get an action flick. Christy doesn't really like action flicks, but I'm going to get an action flick. Well, sometimes. I'm going to watch an action flick, and I'm going to have, like, my, not Hershey's, it's like, come on. I'm going to have some nice European chocolate and, whatever, I could go on. And I'm going to sit there and enjoy it. I'm going to eat it really slow. And I'm just, this 400 calories, like, I worked all week, and this is, like, my reward, right? It's calculated entertainment. Totally awesome. It's great. But if I'm compelled and I have to have it, then it ultimately is an unhealthiness in my heart. So it's recognizing some of these mindsets we've lived in. It's like, well, I can't do that. Well, why can't you do that? Well, I could never become that. Well, why couldn't you become that? Well, it's because, this and that in my history. It's like, no. No, you're actually limiting yourself because of a lack of faith in what God wants to do. Because God's the one that puts dreams on our hearts. God's the one that says, hey, son, daughter, I have a dream for you. Pursue this. And then we get that, and then we're like, that's a little bit, overachiever there. And I found myself, Kate's husband, Kevin, I don't know if Kate left, I think just a minute ago. Oh, there she is in the back, Kate and I. Kate's husband and I, Kevin, we're getting ready to do this race in June that Kevin talked me into. And it's an obstacle race. And for the last 6 months, I've been training for these obstacle races, and it's like a lot of upper body stuff. And been doing all this Ninja Warrior training stuff with my kids. And anyways, I was like, I could never do that stuff. Those guys are thinner than me. They're stronger than me. And I'm totally off subject. This is not in my notes at all. But anyways, these guys are just like the physical fitness level, and usually they're in their 20s. Well, I get on, I'm starting watching all this Ninja Warrior stuff. Well, there's guys in their 40s that do that stuff. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. And Christy's like, you really want to do some of that? She's like, this stuff's terrible. I don't even enjoy doing any of that. We go to the Ninja Warrior gym, and she's like, this is horrible. This is, like, not fun at all. She's like, it just hurts the whole time. I'm like, yeah, it's awesome. You get up there, and your fingers are, like, dying. I love it. Yeah, it's awesome. But Kevin and I signed up for a race, and so there's this race that happens once a year, and it's usually in Canada, and they have it this year in Vermont. And I'm probably not going to go to it this year, but I have my fitness goals have shifted, and I'm looking at things that I can do now that I wouldn't even dream I could do before, and I'm looking at them in terms of years and not in terms of months. Like, oh, I could run that 5K. It's like, yeah, you can train for a couple months and run a 5K, but what about if you trained for 5 years? What could you do? What if you stewarded your body? What if you took care of yourself? And I have this one guy I follow on Instagram. I love Instagram because I have like 8 guys that I follow that are fitness guys, but they're just like normal guys, like normal people. They got families and whatever. And so I follow those guys, and I, look at their stuff, and they post their daily workouts, and it gets me fired up. I work out 15 to 30 minutes a day, like 7 days a week. I'll skip a day here and there. But it's very relaxed, right? Used to when I worked out, I like Angie was saying, it's like, I got to go to the gym. Like, that was my mentality, but I hate going to the gym, So it was like this love-hate thing. And so I got into doing calisthenics, which is a lot of the body weight stuff, and I got a pull-up bar. Like, that's all I need. Like, happy, good to go. 15 minutes a day is not a very big investment into my life, but it's transforming my life. It's totally amazing. And so these guys that are doing this stuff, they post their daily workout, and it might be like 15, 20 minutes long. And so I started getting inspired, like, I could do this too. But one of the cool things is sometimes they'll post the before and after pictures. And one of the guys I follow like every day, like, is a guy I look at. He's over in Europe, and just a normal guy. He has like a 1 year in from working out picture, and then like a 5 year in. Right? And I thought, well, that is so healthy. Like, most people are posting this like, well, I lost like 100 pounds in 6 months, and like, nobody normal, most of us can't do that, We're like I don't have 100 pounds to lose, And muscle is not, you can't build muscle quickly, right? So you're just like, the progress is so inkling slow. Well, this guy has like a 5 year, 1 to 5 year picture. And I looked at him and I thought, wow, where he was at 1 year, I'm at right now. And I could look like that in 4 more years if I do what he does, which is 20 minutes a day. And the guy's not like Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? But he's actually the size, like everybody has their own fitness goals, right? And he's the size I want to be. I'm like, well, that would be amazing if I could be that strong, because then I could do my obstacle courses and I might actually win something. Like right now, I'll be in the back, which is fine where I'm starting, but I've got a 5-year plan now, right? I'm looking ahead. So once a year, there's this international world championship. And so Kevin and I have been talking about it, and he's like, Kevin's all fired up and running, like crazy. And so anyways, you have to finish in, there's a local race in Kansas City, and you have to finish top 10 to make it to the international race, which has 2,000 people running in it or something crazy. But anyways, my goal is in 3 years, I want to be competitive in that, right? But 3 years, for most of us in a normal mentality, is like a long time to do something, like every day for 3 years. So I can't sustain that like in just a old mindset. I have to come up with a new mindset. I have to have a shift in my perspective. And what's happened is that because the value has shifted, because I've recognized value, and then because of that I've been inspired to dream, I now have a lifestyle where working out 15 to 30 minutes a day is just a normal part of my day. It's not like it's something extra. It's not like I'm doing it and I'm struggling to do it. Does it make sense? I actually enjoy it. And I enjoy it not because I know that there's just an end goal. I mean, the apple at the end is really nice, right? And I know that, wow, there's going to be some great fruit in my life, and hopefully it's going to extend my life. Hopefully I'm going to be, able to do more things as I get older, da-da-da-da-da. But also because I'm doing something that I enjoy. I was so narrow focused on fitness before. I would go around and hit all the machines. And I hate working out on machines, right? And I hate running on the treadmill. I mean, it's like the most boring thing ever. And they never have good channels. And I'm not the guy that usually changes channel. Christy would change the channel. I'm like, oh, I'll just watch this soap opera. Wow. Weather Channel. I don't know. I just kind of live with things. Christy's like, that's terrible. Can we change this channel? Anybody else in the room want to change? Take your earplugs out. Do you want to change this channel? Because this is terrible. I'm not that personality. I'm just like, I'll live with it for 20, 30 minutes. I hated working out on the machines, but I love running on trails, I found. In the process of trying and failing at fitness, right, of taking steps and be like, ooh, I'm going to try this. I'm like, 2 weeks, I'm like, oh, that was terrible. I'm going to try this. Well, I've just kept doing things until I found things I enjoy. So now I can do these obstacle course, challenges and races, and I can do these calisthenics things, and I can find people that do those things. We can do them together. My kids are all excited about it. We built a Ninja Warrior gym in the backyard. I have some pictures. Can you pull up the Ninja Warrior gym? So here's my kids. I know the lighting's terrible for seeing the picture, but here's our Ninja Warrior gym in the backyard. We go to the playgrounds all the time, and we do all our workouts, and the kids are super competitive too. So we do races against each other, and I don't always win, which is frustrating, because I'm bigger and stronger. But we do these races, and they're flying through the equipment, and I'm getting stuck in all the bars. But anyways, we have a blast. I mean, it's so much fun, and it's something that I enjoy as a part of my life. So then the other piece to that is I work out every day, but I'm the type of person that I'm moderately structured, but I'm not extremely organized, right? So I'm kind of in the middle. I used to be not organized at all. So I've come this way, a long ways. But I don't like to work out at the same time every day. It's just the way I am. There's just something about it. So I just work out when I get motivated to work out, which happens to be twice a day. And so I'll get fired up and I'll be like, I'm doing 5 sets of, and I have a regimen, right? I have these are the basics. If you're looking at calisthenics, it's pull-ups, chin-ups, push-ups, leg raises, squats, just some basic planks, handstands, just some basic things and some stretching in a nutshell. But I work different muscle groups every day, but I just work out whenever I'm motivated to work out that muscle group for that day. So I wake up in the morning and I just have an inkling to work out. I'm like, I'm gonna work out right now, right now, in my pajamas, right now. And I'm gonna do a little cardio, and then boom, I'm gonna hit it. And so I do that, and then some days I wake up and I'm like, right? Anybody else? That's usually actually how it is. I'm like, Saturday morning, sometimes I'll wake up and work out. But usually during the week, I get back in the evening, and I'm like, man, I just, been doing stuff all day on the computer, bored to death. I'm going to do something. Like, okay, like today's bicep day. Okay, so I'm going to do like, 9 sets for biceps, and I'll just work through my biceps. Well, it takes just a few minutes, and I'm goofing around with the kids while I'm doing it, right? I've got them. I'm like, hey, come over here, and I don't use weights, right? So I'm like, hey, come over here and hang on to my legs. I'm going to do some chin-ups, and then like all of them are over there. And I'm like, well, maybe one of you, So, I'll do my workout with my kids. It makes it interactive, right, Michael, Selah, right? They love climbing on me while I'm doing workouts. We do squats together. I'll throw them on my shoulders. It's awesome. Michael can do one-leg pistol squats like nobody I've ever seen. Puts me to shame on that. So there's a culture happening in the house where, we're working out with the kids. Well, then they're excited about working out, and then they can see their progress. And then we're doing our, our Ninja Warrior Gym stuff together, and every time we go, they can do a little bit more. I mean, it's super cool. So anyways, just saying that it doesn't have to be so, like sometimes we have an imagination of like a box that it has to fit in. And what I found is over the last 5 or 6 years of trying to find a healthy lifestyle and making those adjustments, I'm finding that my box doesn't necessarily fit the mold of other people. And I'm also finding that my fitness goals have changed, and I don't have to do the workouts that other people do because I have different goals for the results I want to see, right? I'm not trying to be, some bulky, massive Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm also not trying to be a marathon runner, right? And so I've got all this vast room in the middle to fine-tune my workouts. And honestly, talking about weight loss on a practical side, I don't even do cardio for weight loss anymore, which is crazy because like my whole mindset, I used to eat whatever I wanted and then do like a ton of cardio, right? And like my weight would kind of balance out. Well, I found that if I just, I'm eating healthy, I'm eating whole foods. I think you talked about that a little bit earlier. Eating whole foods, I'm taking care of my diet. I'm not like ridiculously, and I do get a little bit geeky on my diet sometimes, and I like research every little calorie out and phytonutrient, But normally what I do is I'll track my calories for like a week, and I'll be like, oh, wow, I didn't realize I was eating that many donuts, And then I'll make an adjustment, and then the next week I'm like, oh, okay, well that's pretty good. And I'll do that. Well, then I won't track calories for like 3 months or 6 months. And then time will go on, and, I'll hop on the scale like once every couple weeks just to see how I'm looking. The scale is very deceiving too because you have weight, you have muscle mass, which changes, and then your water weight and all this stuff. So sometimes you get on there and you're like, oh, and other times you get on there and you're like, wow, I don't know what happened, but I've been eating donuts all day and look at that. So, it does lie to you a little bit. So it's not necessarily the best, barometer for health, but it at least gives me the trend, right? So I'm seeing a trend. So I'll do my calorie counting, and then sometimes I'll punch it in and actually look at the nutrient values and the macros and, be like, okay, I'm getting a pretty good amount of protein. I'm a little bit high on my, sugar, fat, or whatever. I need to make some adjustments. So I'll do that just kind of as a, like your annual budget, for your income. We all have, my income fluctuates a lot because I'm a business owner. So, some months it's dismal and other months it's really amazing. But we all have like an amount of calorie intake every year that's a healthy amount. So I just track that occasionally. Actually, the Lord spoke to me one day and he's like, you count your money for your budget. Why don't you count your budget for your food sometimes? I was like, oh, that's a good point. And I started doing it, and I recognized that no wonder I can't lose weight because of the amount of junk I eat. And when I started changing that, and I started making adjustments in my diet, and we went crazy we went all vegan like in one day several years ago. It was my idea because, I'm like, let's try this out. And we did it for 1.5 years, and it was awesome. I lost a ton of weight, but it was just hard to maintain. So whenever we started changing our diet, I found that like it's okay to jump off a cliff here and there and just try something out, right? But those little incremental changes, once you've done that, make a huge difference on your lifestyle. And I found that now whenever I pick up food, I have a general idea of how many calories it is. And I know, wow, today, just in my head, just kind of quickly, I'm like, wow, I probably am maxed out on calories for the day. Like, I got dinner coming up, and that's going to be like 800 calories. I probably shouldn't eat that donut today. And before, I had no grid for it. It was just like, donut, right? And then like, 2 donuts. And you know what? I still don't feel that bad. 3 donuts. And then you get home, and you're like, oh, dinner. Right? Well, now I still do that occasionally. But now most of the time, I will look at, my calories for the day in my mind just quickly. I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, I could have some chocolate right now. Like, I'm good. I'll just eat a little lighter for dinner, and boom. So I've started just making lifestyle adjustments based on some information that I know about my own body that I didn't know before by doing some tracking. So that's a really practical tip that I use periodically. And now now I do cardio for endurance, not for weight loss, right? So when I actually do cardio, I'm focused on, okay, I'm doing muscle groups. I'm doing slow twitch or fast twitch fibers, depending on if I'm doing long distance or sprints. And I'm doing it because I've got a race coming up, and I know that I need to get to that distance at that speed, so that's what I'm pursuing. Has nothing to do with my weight, like my body fat percentage, right? I'm controlling that with my diet. I'm controlling that with like my eating habits. Like, okay, well, I want to lose 5 pounds before the race. I'll just cut out donuts for 3 weeks. Like donuts probably aren't the best example, but I'll cut out like some processed food, and I'm not going to eat that. Like granola bars. I love granola bars. And so I'm like, I'm not going to eat granola bars, or I'm going to cut out, whatever. I'm pretty good overall. I don't eat a lot of refined sugar I almost always drink water or coffee, So I'm not really intaking a lot of calories there, but I can cut out sweets. This last July, I cut out all sugar, all refined sugar, all added sugar for a month. I lost like 3 or 4 pounds, which for me is a lot because I'm already down to an optimal size, right? Because I've been working on it for 5 years. And so I'm down to an optimal size. Well, for me, 3 or 4 pounds, that's like amazing, And so I was like, wow, that just 1 month. So if I want to get ready for a race, I can just make an adjustment in my diet. Does that make sense? And then 3-4 weeks later, I'm losing, half a pound to a pound a week, and I'm right in my zone. So now that I'm at the lightest possible. I don't know if, you guys have those like 5-pound weights at home or 10-pound weight. That's a lot of weight. And when you're like racing, try grabbing a 10-pound weight and holding it on your stomach and racing for 3 to 5 to 10 miles. That ain't fun. So it's the same reality when you carry it in your body. So, to get ready for a race, I might lose some weight, but I'll do it with diet. So now all of my workouts are focused on goals that are towards what I want to do, which is fun, not just weight loss. Does that make sense? So now it's like, I don't have to do that hour of cardio 3 days a week or 5 days a week for weight loss. I can do it strategically for something that I'm passionate about. So maybe today I'm going to do rock climbing instead because I want to work on my finger grip, my finger strength, and my balance and whatever, my core. Or maybe I'm going to focus on like really hard on, getting my core strength and my handstands and all that. Whatever. And so I'm now fine-tuning a fitness that actually is for my lifestyle. It's for my life. It's stuff I enjoy to do. I did a big race with Hans Nix about 1.5 years ago, and it was like ridiculous amount of canoeing. It was like 8 miles of canoeing in dead water. It was terrible. But, for my workouts, I just started doing the row machine, And so I was focusing my fitness on what I needed to do to succeed, and I was so glad I did because when I got there, it was terrible. And it took us like 2.5 hours of paddling to get, so I was doing like 30-minute workouts of paddling, And then it was like 2.5 hour actual race. So I was dead by the time we actually got to the end of the race. But I did it, and I never stopped. Like we paddled all the way through. So it was awesome. But fitness is, I think we can get so stuck in a mindset that, there's like this dream of something out there that, media and Hollywood is portraying, and I have to be that, I have to have that. When ultimately fitness is supposed to be about what's your dream for yourself? What's your dream? what activities do you want to do with your kids? What activities do you know, what kind of sports do you want to play? And I love playing soccer, and I love playing ultimate frisbee. And I love doing these things where there's a lot of running involved. Well, okay, if I'm going to do that, I have to keep that, those muscle groups up. So I'm going to do some leg workouts. I'm going to do whatever. All right, enough on that. How am I doing on time? You know what? I have a phone. Yes. I'll keep it right there. Look at that. 12. You know what? I'm going to try to finish on time. 12 minutes. Okay. That's good. So I'm jumping back a little bit, but one of the principles I've learned is that whenever I wake up in the morning, I look in the mirror, what I see in the mirror isn't who I am. What I see in the mirror is a culmination of choices I've made the last 3 to 5 years. And so what I do in my mind is I imagine what I am on the inside, and then I let my body represent that over time. Does that make sense? Because if you're looking in the mirror and you're saying, this is who I am, you're basing who you are on your history. But if you'll look in the mirror and you'll say, I can see me becoming like this, right? This is my 5-year vision for my health, for my fitness level. That's what I see. Then it doesn't matter what you see today. It matters what you're doing today. So it gives you the motivation to do the action to get to where what you already see on the inside. And it's that value system. I value and I believe, that faith piece, I believe that this is who I am, that I'm a healthy person, and that I have a healthy body. And so I'm going to make the choice to make my body right now be what I know I am on the inside. Isn't that good? So I've learned to do that, and it's dramatically affected my motivation level to really stay in that place. So can you jump to the Big Mac picture? I want to give you a few examples on the calorie counting side. I know Jessica did this earlier a little bit. I want to give you a few examples of foods that I occasionally eat still, right? That's okay. It's okay to occasionally eat these things. But if you're trying to lose body fat by doing cardio, these foods will not lend to helping you. And for me personally, whenever I work out, typically if I need like 172 beats per minute cardio for an hour, I burn like 600 calories, right? So somewhere in that ballpark. And so a Big Mac, 563 calories. So if I work out for an hour, I mean like hardcore working out, like I am running like my guts out. And then at the end of that, and this is what I used to do, and this is why I could never shed those last 10 or 15 pounds I always wanted to shed, right? I would do these crazy workouts. I mean, I work out for 2 hours cardio, and then I would go to Sonic and I would get a double cheeseburger and a large chocolate malt and some cheese, whatever those were. They weren't fries, but it's been so long. Hoppers, is that what they're called? Been so. Jalapeno popper? Yeah, that was one of them. Yeah, anyway, they are good. But I would get a meal, and I did the calculation on my meal, 2,900 calories. 2,900 calories. I do that twice a week after I worked out 2 days. So I'd work out in the morning for an hour, and then I'd go and work out for an hour and a half. I mean, cardio, and then I would go have that for dinner because I was hungry. And what I found is that your body will try to replenish the calories you've spent doing cardio. It naturally does that because your body always wants to maintain. It's always fighting to maintain. And so you're trying to lose weight, and you're like, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to do this, or gain weight. Same, works on both sides. Chrissy's going to be talking about that a little bit later on. But, trying to lose weight or gain weight, your body doesn't want to do that. It just wants to be right where it's at. It's happy. So you do an hour of cardio, it wants 600 calories of food. Like, dollar for dollar. And so I would work out all of this stuff, and then I would eat like that, and I didn't even feel that bad after eating that way because my body was like, I need this, and it would just like gobble it up. But the scale never changed. My body fat percentage never changed. I was working out like crazy, and I did that for about a year, and I just finally was like, man, this isn't producing the results that I would expect. I don't think that I can work out more in my schedule and, make anything happen. And ultimately, I couldn't. If I worked out 5 hours a day, I would have just consumed 6,000 calories a day, right? It doesn't matter. And I think people, we try to get into these like, let me give you an example. Olympic swimmers, like when they swim, they do all these races. I was reading a statistic a couple of years ago on it, and they can burn up to 20,000 calories in a day. 20,000 calories in a day. I'm using every muscle and going at it for hours. 20,000 calories. These people are not fat, right? They have to consume those calories that same day or the next day or the day after to replenish. And so sometimes we look at calorie counting and like we so demonize food, right? We so demonize calories. If I could only eat less calories. But your body really just wants to maintain. It just wants to keep you right where you're at. It is so happy with where you're at. It doesn't want to go in starvation mode. It's just really good. So you have to find ways to use your diet to change that, and then let the cardio just be addition to that. When I'm doing cardio, I eat more calories. I just do. And I don't even necessarily do it intentionally, but it automatically happens. I'll go and I'll work out for an hour, and I will just be extra hungry. And if I do that for a couple of days in a row, then I get really hungry. And if I don't, and so I found that if I'm trying to eat with a lower calorie deficit, and there's like all this science behind it. I'm not going to get into all the calorie counting, shifting calories and all that stuff. But there's actually some science behind the metabolism, the way your body works. And I'm sure some other people here are more qualified to talk about that than me. But what I found is that like I'll make it, if I'm in a calorie deficit, like I'm eating, I burn about 2,200 calories a day. So if I'm eating like 1,800 calories a day and then I'm trying to do cardio at the same time, it is like killing me. Like I'm like dying. I have no energy. And so I'll need my metabolism after a couple of days, it starts dropping. And what I found is that within about 3 weeks, I no longer lose weight. Like I'm eating low calories and I'm not losing weight. It's like hell on earth, Like not eating a lot of food, that really stinks. And then not losing weight, that really stinks. So it's very demotivating. So I found I have to have these refeed days where I, spike up an extra 1,000 calories, once a week or something to kind of get my metabolism going again. But anyways, what I wanted to say is that because I had no awareness of the diet piece, I would consume what my body wanted to consume. Now, if I had only eaten 2,400 calories for that meal, because I needed more calories because of all the cardio, right? But if I had consumed 2,400 calories, I would have had a 500 calorie deficit. That's not so bad. Like I can eat 2,400 calories. You know what I'm saying? Actually, I found I can only eat about 1,000 calories at a time, and then I get full. And so, anyways, if I'm doing a lot of cardio, I have to like be intentional to eat enough calories. Isn't that interesting? So that I can maintain my body weight. I'm not to the point right now where I'm trying to go down. But if I wanted to go down, I would just eat 200 less calories. And if I understand how the math works, and if I'm tracking it, I can very easily do that. I can be like, oh, you know what? I'm going to burn 200 calories today, and I'm going to do it every day for all week long. And I can track that. It's a knowable thing. And before I understood the calorie counting piece here, weight loss, I should say, was a mystery to me, and it was out of my control. I was out of control. Right? I ate what I wanted, when I wanted, and I felt bad about it, but I didn't know what to do about it. And if I tried to stop eating it, then I would find myself eating something else, later in the day. So now that I have a grid, just a basic understanding, it doesn't take that long to get it. Do a little bit of research online. Basic understanding of, okay, I've got this coming in, I got that going out, I need to make sure I've got enough, protein in there to cover my muscle growth and whatever. Just some real basic stuff. Which I can share any of that with you later on. So if you're like, I'm really serious about this, I can send you some email or some website links. But whenever I got a hold of that, all of a sudden weight loss became just a normal process. And if you've tried weight loss programs like all of us have, what happens is you'll lose weight, and then you'll gain weight, and then you'll lose weight, and you'll gain weight, even though you're doing everything the same. You know what I'm talking about? Like I'm eating my Jenny Craig, You ever eaten those little Jenny Craig meals? My mom used to eat them all the time. They're like nasty, Anyways, some people love them. Or the other one was the chocolate shake. What are those called? Slim Fast. Oh, I love those. I love Slim Fast. So I can still drink Slim Fast. But you're doing like this consistent diet, And yet your body weight is doing this. It's like going up and down. And what happens is if you don't understand what's happening, you get very discouraged. But if you know if you understand the process your body's going through, you know that, oh, this is like water retention, and then I'm going to have another dip, and okay, my metabolism slowed down a little bit. I'm just going to take a little bit more calories here. Oh, look at that, right back up to where it was. And you'll just have this steady decline. And it's so empowering because you actually have control of your weight at that point. It's so neat. But it takes, you got to sit down and spend a couple hours doing the research, right? Spend 5 or 10 hours. Get with a dietitian or, a personal trainer and be like, hey, what's going on? These are my goals. What's a diet that can help me get there? What's a calorie intake I need? Da 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 da. So I do all that stuff myself personally. So I'm not an expert, but I know what I need, and I've got my own calculator I built on Excel, so I can punch it all in and be like, oh, look at that right there, right? I try to make it as simple as possible. So, anyways, I would consume 2,900 calories. A few other examples: McDonald's large French fry. Can you put that one on there? 510 calories. McDonald's big breakfast with hotcakes, 1,090 calories. Arby's roast turkey is so healthy sounding, isn't it? Roast turkey. It's not fried chicken, it's roast turkey, right? 800 calories. Ugh. KFC chicken pot pie. Have you seen how small those things are? 790 calories. Sonic chocolate malt, 1,410 calories. And I love those things. I used to drink 2 of those at a time. Seriously, 2 of them. I love those things. What I found, if I am dehydrated, I always want milkshakes. I don't know why. Like 10 years ago, it dawned on me one day. Every time I'm thirsty, I want a milkshake. And so I just started drinking water, and then I didn't want the milkshakes. Anyways, I still like milkshakes occasionally, but I'm like, that's small. 400 calories, I can do that. What do I do now? Oh, yeah, that's right. I do smoothies. Yeah. I've got that on my notes coming up. All right. All right. So Fazoli's breadsticks. How many can eat like 10 of those things? Right? Like besides the meal, right? The entree, and then you have the breadsticks. 150 calories a pop. So, now, when you're eating them, you're like, and that's, 20 minutes of cardio, 40 minutes of cardio, 60 minutes. If you think that way, you'll be like, I'll have one. With my meal. And then I'm going to drink, what I do is I drink extra water. And then I, kind of like, a couple tips. I actually have these tips in my notes. Eat slowly. Stomach takes about 20 minutes to get full. So the receptors will not tell you that you're full for 20 minutes-ish. So if you are cramming food at the buffet, you can cram as much food as you want, and your body will not tell you you're full until 20 minutes. So if you will take your bites slower, so what I do now is I get a smaller plate the first time, and then when I go back the second time, I'm not that hungry. But if I get my normal, like my used to 3 times higher than it should be plate, I can get that whole thing in before 20 minutes. And then when I go back, I don't get much, but I'm like so full, I've eaten like 2,000 calories. So I'll get a smaller plate on the first one, and then I'll get a little bit bigger plate on my second one. And by the time I'm like almost finishing my second one, I'm already full. And it's a little bit frustrating, because used to I could eat so much. And now I'm like, man, I really wanted to finish, whatever that was, that sushi on my plate. And I just can't quite get it done. But it's because it's just a little principle that I found. If I'll just eat slowly at 20 minutes, I'm full. So your stomach's only that big, right? As big as your fist. So you fill that thing up and you're good to go. So that's one little tip. And then I drink water. Well, I always drink water. I drink water all the time. I love drinking water. But I drink water, and I do, there's probably a debate on this about like drinking water while you're eating because it slows down your digestion. I don't care. It helps me like not eat as much. So I drink water, like I'll have a big glass of water right before I eat, right? And it starts like getting my stomach full. And then I'll have a big glass of water like while I'm eating. And I need to get hydrated because if I don't, I want a milkshake. And then secondly, I don't eat as many calories in my meal. So it's a win-win, right? So that's another little free tip that I do. But anyways, doing that, I'll take the one Fazoli's breadstick, right? Or I'll be like, wow, yesterday I did cardio for 2 hours, and I could probably have 3 or 4 of these, and it's not going to be a big deal. Because I know how many calories I've had, right? And it's not even that I counted them, I just have a general idea because I've counted them in the past, right? I've got 5 years of experience of like dibbing in on calories. People, they always put you on the spot. They're like, well, how many calories does this have? And I'm like, I'm trying to remember off my calories. 70, eggs, 70 or whatever. But I do that. I'm literally like, I want to eat about 500 calories right now for this snack. So I'm going to have a smoothie. That's about 500 calories. I'm going to throw in 3 bananas and an apple and, some sort of a lettuce or kale and a little bit of orange juice. Boom, 500 calories. And 500 calories versus a large chocolate shake, which is 1,400 calories. Now I've saved myself from eating 900 calories, which at the end of the week will come right off of my body fat, right? So pretty simple stuff. But staying hydrated, eating fruits and veggies. I used to hate fruits and veggies, both, except for strawberries. I always liked strawberries. But when Christy and I got married, my broccoli was boiled and then smothered in Velveeta. That was how I did vegetables, right? And everything was fried. And so she kind of got me around to eating grilled chicken more and whatever. But the veggies, man, it took me time to like veggies. I eat raw veggies now. You would never have seen me eat raw veggies 6 years ago. I forced myself. I had carrot slices last night on my own initiative. Nobody was watching, right? I took them out of the packet, a whole handful, and I sat there and ate them. Now, I did dip them in some homemade ranch dressing, which helped. But I knew this is about 100 calories extra. That's okay. But I had my raw carrot chips, and my journey has been 6 years ago, I wouldn't do that. But it's taken me 6 years to get to the point of being able to eat raw carrot. Now, raw celery is still a bit tough for me. But I'm getting there. But I actually can eat raw vegetables now and feel good about it, or decently good about it. And then fruit is like my buddy now. Those little cuties, man, those little things do not last long at our house. All of our kids are grabbing them, and I'm like, hey, because I'll eat 5 at a time. I'm like, oh, I'll have a snack, I'll sit down, I'm gonna work on the computer, and I got a pile of cuties. Boom! It's either 5 cuties or 2 granola bars, really bad granola bars, right? Not the nice ones that are healthy, organic. So I'm like, I'm going to choose between the two. I'm going to go with the cuties. It's just as filling. By the time you peel them, and it gets in your fingernails. Anybody else hate that? It gets in your fingernails, and I try to keep my fingernails fairly long, but not terrible. But it gets in there, and then I have to rinse my fingers off every other one because I can't stand it, and it smells, and you're like, oh. But you're peeling those things one at a time, and then I purposely eat one piece at a time, so I'm not right? Well, it might take me 15 minutes to eat 5 cuties. Well, by the time I eat those and I drink a glass of water, I'm not hungry, right? So it's just these little adjustments that I've made over the last 5 or 6 years where I'm now eating more fruit, I'm now eating more vegetables, I'm eating less cooked vegetables, I'm eating vegetables with less cheese, right? I'm eating lower calorie foods as an intentional thing that are highly nutritious as well, because both of those are important. I actually had a picture, I forgot to put it up here. It was this guy that was really skinny, but he was completely emaciated, right? Super thin, unhealthy, no muscle. You can lose weight and you can lose body fat and get your body fat percentage low, but if you don't eat the right nutrition, then it's going to be just as bad as if you were overweight, right? Because you can go either way. So anyways, whole grains instead of refined grains, gosh, that was painful. You know what it's like eating a donut. It's amazing, and then you eat some, sprouted grain bread for the first time, and it's like chewing cardboard, and you're like, well, this peanut butter and jelly sandwich is not as good as I remember. And so it took me a few years to like whole grain bread. Well, now I love whole grain bread. I'm like, oh, look at this little seed thing, right? Before I was like, seeds, oh. And salads, I would not touch salads. My whole life, I never ate salads. My mom's idea of salad was canned spinach, Canned spinach. It was a nightmare. It's still a nightmare. I still have bad dreams. Canned spinach. So I didn't have a culture of eating salad growing up. Everything we did was in Velveeta. So salad doesn't really work well with Velveeta, so we didn't do it. But now I've spent the last since I was 30, intentionally, and Christy's been big into salads since I've known her, but I didn't eat the salads. She would make them for her. And then at 30, I was like, I got to change my diet up here. And I started eating salads. Well, I can't say that I love salads now, but I like them. It's not like my favorite. The other day I came home, I'd worked all day, like physically worked all day. So I was starving. I probably burned 1,500 or 2,000 extra calories that day from the work. I mean, I was like jogging and like moving bags around all day. I was starving. I came home and Christy made salad for dinner. And I was like, that's like 400 calories of food, and it's going to take me 20 minutes to eat that. I'm dying, right? So I did eat it. She actually had a meeting or something, so I ate it, but I supplemented with some other things, like pasta. It's like high calorie, I need something. So I supplemented, and it was fine. So it's not my favorite. I don't like eating salad just for my meal, right? Unless you throw some grilled chicken in it, and then, okay, we're good. But it's something I can do now, right? So I'm hoping that 5 years from now, I'll actually like it more, right? Like, that's the plan. I'm hoping 5 years from now, I have continued to make these little adjustments, which they say it takes 3 weeks to make a new habit, right? You guys heard that statistic? To break a habit or make a habit, it takes about 21 days or 20-something days. Well, I'm just making these little incremental adjustments, and then a month later, I'll make another little one, and a month later, I'll make another, and they're like super tiny. But if you do that for years, you'll eventually find yourself in a really healthy position. And that's what I found. It's just, the transition process I'm in right now is like I never did leg workouts because I never liked doing them. So I'm slowly adding more and more leg workouts, right? Because I'm like, wow, I can make my bicep look nice, but my quad, it's like, that's bad. So I have a vision for what I want, but I'm not like, doing every leg workout there is every day now or something. I'm just making these little incremental changes. It's like I'm going to add that one leg routine in on Tuesdays and then do that for a month. And this is kind of what I do. Maybe a month I do that. And then, okay, I'm going to add another leg routine in on Thursday. And then I do that for a month. And then, okay, now, I'm just going to take the next 4 months and see if I can sustain that or something. I'm just making these little incremental changes. It's like I'm going to do a little too much. Maybe I'll back it off. Maybe I'll add to it. But it's just these little adjustments that I'm making, and 5 years later, I'm finding myself that the person in the mirror that I see is becoming more and more like the person that I see on the inside, right? The person that I want to see in the mirror, the person I know that I will see in the mirror eventually, and it's this journey. So don't feel like 6 months have gone by, a year, I've tried like 5 diets, or 5 years has gone by. Man, get a 10-year plan. And just make the changes. It doesn't have to be anything big, just little changes. 10 years is a long time to make a lot of changes. And you'll find yourself, you always see these old women that do like marathon. There's like a couple of them that are like 80-something, and they're like, well, I didn't run until I was 65. And they're 80, and they're like setting records for their age for marathons and stuff. There's a bunch of people like that on Instagram and Facebook. But those people are so inspiring to me because they're putting in the time, like 5, 10, 15, 20 years of doing something, and they had a completely unhealthy lifestyle like I did for 30 years, right? Completely unhealthy diet, completely unhealthy, I did the workout stuff, but my diet was terrible. But, they just came out of this place of not fit, and the world will look at them saying they're not an athlete. And then in 65 years old, they decided to do something about it. And it's amazing to see the transformation. And if they can do it, we can do it. Right? It's good. All right. Well, I'm probably way past on time. 12 minutes. Hey, not too bad. Aaliyah, come on up.
So good. So good.